Little McConaughey there for you. Heading to the beach. Little sunset bodyboarding sesh. Had a freaking phenomenal Zoom session. Huge discussion, and just so many points came up, and he actually touched upon one that I was going to make a video of earlier today, but I was too busy doing my training inputs. Didn't get around to it, but I saw the advertisement of some dude in a douchebag profession called chiropractic, and he was saying how we walk evolutionarily, we've walked more now than ever or something, and we deteriorate the joints and degenerate the joints, and the gait is altered, creating pain. And he's going to fix our gait, fix the skeletal structure, fix this to improve the pain response. So I needed to get into this. So we've covered this whole thing. Every process, every change the body goes through is an adaptive response. Always healing. Always, always, always. If you go in and try to eliminate that or fix that in any way, shape, or form, you just got in the way of that person's ultimate healing to a level greater than what they were. And it's not always just the feeling better that is the goal. It's not always the sensation of pain, swelling, inflammation, uncertainty, fear, that when those are eliminated, resolution and goal and design and principles achieved. There's more to it than that. So there's something bigger than just changing the feeling on everything. So let's just stick in my world. Every gait that somebody represents is exactly what they're prepared to do and how they're prepared to do it for the length that they're prepared to do it and the environment that they choose to do it, that their level of prepared takes them to. So if we go ahead and say ankles are pronating, feet are turned out, one stride's longer than another, because they've been sitting in a chair, because of their lifestyle, or because of they have ankle, knee, and joint, hip pain, because of sitting in a chair and because of that there. No, that there is the evolutionary adaptive healing response to help them survive whatever freaking environment they're in. If their bodies didn't do that, and they went to exist in the environments that we're all talking about, like walking to the store, maybe a bogus exercise like jogging, they would fall apart instantaneously. Person would be on the ground, dead, dinosaur would have eaten them, humanity wouldn't have continued this long. Done. So it's the adaptive response at all those structural changes that everyone's talking about fixing based on the function of the person. But we have this, if the body is structurally sound, if everything's in a 90-90 position, if everything's even, if everything's balanced, if everything's symmetrical, the function of the person is ideal. And it's not. It doesn't match up that way. And we have this where we would go into and fix all these things with either special shoes or orthotics or a treatment or body work or something like that, and create this instantaneous change that it took them years and years to adapt to. You just set them worse at being able to adapt to their environment, because their body, given the inputs that they had up until this point, that's the adaptive response for them. Appropriate, perfectly appropriate. So it's to say, if you observed, because you were doing a test called jogging for some fucked up reason, and you put somebody who had Parkinson's expressing the healing response of Parkinson's, and you judged the person's gait, and you changed it, or tried to inject them and do all this body work and all this shit to change it, you would fuck that person up, because that Parkinson's expression is absolutely perfect for what they're going on. Or neurodegenerative disorders and all this other quote unquote bullshit. So as they're healing with Cassie, doing true medicine, the only person doing true medicine, as they're healing, they're shuffling their feet. Why? Because they can't support weight on one leg by itself, independently. The body and brain being so freaking perfect and the adaptive response being absolutely ideal and perfect would have them shuffling to assist in keeping them around, while hopefully they go into other things needed to change. That's why the body got their attention in the first place. But this whole fix the gait, fix walking, because they'll point it out and they'll show video and they'll measure your stride length. If you stride longer on one leg than another, if your big toe doesn't move as much as the other, well, we mobilize the big toe, the stride increases, now we're done, you're good. Wait a second, why did the body do that in the first place? Go back into the principles of what it is, principles of true medicine, and when it comes to injuries, principles of training, covering them all. And when you put that person into a stimulus through movement from toes to thumbs to a level greater than any input they would encounter in their life, whatever the body decides to do structurally, it will do when it's damn well ready to do it, and no fucking sooner. And I need this to be understood. I used to battle the dipshit world of baseball instruction, my God. And now I'm just so glad I'm out of it. But they would make everybody throw in these ways to prevent injury, throwing to prevent injury in this mechanical way. And they would design and show and these vectorgrams and these videos and all these exercise physiologist brains and teaching everybody because it was the mechanics that led to the breakdown of the joint. No. The cause of all injury is still the same. The mechanics are a response of the person's ability to move from toes to thumbs across the board. Now, once you get somebody who has the ability to train, understands principles of training, puts themselves into a position, has certain mechanical advantages, could you change the mechanics to bring a performance increase, to increase some trait that's kind of bullshit but let's just talk about a velocity or something in a sport like that? Sure. But I don't know anybody that's at that level. It's very, very few and far between, but that's not what we're talking about in life. We aren't there. We've so far devolved, mostly the practitioners, but we try to cookie cutter what somebody's gait should be or what their motion should be. How do we know? Did we make that person? Were we there when we created that person? And if you didn't make that person or build that person, I don't know if you can make the call. I stopped saying it with posture because they would do all this bullshit in chiropractic school, which the whole thing was a sham, but they would do posture and try to say that the head needed to be in this position, this position. It's like, started thinking about it because I bit that hook, line, and sinker. And I was like, wait a second. The person chose that position out of sheer adaptation and healing. And if I say it needs to be this degree because of this measurement, this x-ray, did I make that person? And would their posture possibly need to shift day to day, second to second? Of course it would. It's the individuality of the person. Until science studies each individual every second of every day, we would have no idea. So I have ways of going about a person finding their line of best fit in true training that I have with Zooms or people that work with me. And they just figure it out. It's the unique nature of them, and they figure it out first and foremost. Boom. But that's where it's like, let's fix people's postures. But that posture was the adaptive response to their entire inputs up until that point. And if they don't go through, this is another big, huge point. If you don't go through all the steps, all the feels, all the time, all the changes, all the sacrifices, all the levels of inputs, every inch of everything that you've got, not just change structure, feel better. But if you don't go through all those levels, you don't receive what the whole design had intended for you in the first place. And that's long-term adaptive increase in function, able to keep you here, not just feel better for the short term and look like everybody else. And so that's the thing, especially with injuries, going through that real moment, being in that real moment, feeling every inch, changing things in your life, sacrificing the things you like to do the things that prepare you for the things that you like to do. Going through all that, and then finally at some point, all of a sudden, a page turning, maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 years, maybe 30 years later, if we didn't get the chance to go through all of that, true healing wasn't attained. The whole point of this whole thing, you're still here. It's great. You'll still experience this life. It's awesome. But the whole point is to go through it. The lessons are in that. And that's something that we've long forgotten. So, where'd this video start out at? I don't know. Structure and gait analysis, and somebody selling you that you need to improve your knee pain and ankle pain and hip pain and back pain, or because you're walking wrong. Your elbow pain is because you're throwing wrong, you're sitting wrong, you're this, that, and the other wrong. Damage to joint happens from the same cause. Solution is the same thing across the board. Your body will move however it's prepared. Whatever is best for it at that moment to be able to evolve and adapt to the environment you choose to place it in. That is the design. That's the perfection. And even though it looks imperfect, and even though it might not feel ideal, it is absolutely ideal for where you're at right now. Understand that? All right, how are the waves? Low tide. Let's go. Let's check this out. Boom.